Okay, so I kind of lied in the title. Now, I'm making a real-time strategy, digital tactics-based trading card game that's going to be on iOS and Android, and it should be out next year. And I wanted you to click on this video because I wanted to talk about something that was like related to the topic, but no, I didn't literally dig up a dead game and steal mechanics from it. But like you wouldn't have clicked it if I didn't say that. So yeah, now that that's out of the way, we can get started. Now, around the time that Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel came out, there was another Yu-Gi-Oh! Game that made its debut, but it lasted like less than a year because no one was really into it, and it was called Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel. You see, it was a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game that had life points, it had the trading cards, but that was roundabout where the similarities to the mainline TCG ended. They come up with whole new systems for card effects and card movement and four-way battles and everything like that. It was so cool, but I don't think it's what people were expecting when they downloaded the app, which is part of why I think it may have failed. Like, the concept was genuinely great, but it was just too different from Yu-Gi-Oh! For you to then market it to Yu-Gi-Oh! Players and want them to be your main target audience. That, to me, is why it flopped. There were definitely other reasons, but to me, that's one of the main ones. Now, in this game, you would summon your cards onto the field where they would take physical form. They would move along these lanes to attack one of your 3 opponents, depending on where you chose to summon that card. Now, if you know anything about the Summoner's Nexus TCG, that should already start to sound familiar, right? Summoning cards to move along lanes to attack your opponents, like, that's not even subtle. Well, the similarities don't stop there, unfortunately. The battle system is also eerily similar. You have 2 enemy cards, they meet on the field, they stop, and they battle, and the card that wins stays on the field, loses some stats, the losing card goes to the graveyard. That's a Nexus in a nutshell. I mean, that settles it, surely. It's clearly a carbon copy, case closed, no need to talk about it any further. To those of you who are newer in the community, I wouldn't blame you for thinking that at all, and to those of you who aren't and have been here through like the entire process, I'm sure you're wondering why I'm even mentioning this dead game where it could cast doubt where there doesn't need to be any. Well, the reason why I bring up the length of time that you've been supporting is because those of you who've been around since day one know that I started working on Summoner's Nexus all the way back in 2021, whereas Cross Duel came out in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. That being said, that doesn't completely exonerate me, right? There was an open beta that happened before the game was released, and I took part in it. So what then, might you ask? Here's the thing. Summoner's Nexus has been in official development since 2021, but the core principles that serve as the foundation for the game, it's all the way back from 2018 in my final year of college. You see, in that 2017-2018 period, I've been working on a card-based series called Kato Wars, which I know I'm pronouncing wrong, but the idea behind it was to have a grid-based game wherein monsters would be summoned, they'd move around, they'd battle on the field and interact, so on and so forth, all the way back then. I never finished that series, and so I never finished the game, but when I had the idea for Nexus, I decided to draw inspiration from that and actually build it into the universe that I initially created for Kato Wars. So while I wouldn't go so far as to say that Nexus didn't take any inspiration at all from Cross Duel, because I was definitely inspired by the polish, the gameplay loop, the turn structure, so many of the things that they did well, I will say that the fundamental design philosophies that make the game what it is came from me. I'm just gonna read this part directly from my notes, right? The main character in Kato Wars, Shu, had the ability to fuse with the monster that he was life bonded to, which he then taught to other people. And so while they were inhabitants of the same body, Shu felt his partner's pain. Now, the best way that I could communicate this in the game or in the systems that I wanted to create was to make it so that when a monster is attacked, it isn't immediately destroyed, because then Shu would die. So at the time, I came up with the idea to have monsters take damage and lose health and still stay on the field in order to keep on fighting. That way you can tangibly show the main character taking some of the brunt of the attacks without it just being over after one swing. Basically, there needed to be chip damage in the game's systems in order to raise the stakes of the decision to fuse with your partner. Now, again, I'm not going to go so far as to say that all of these systems were fleshed out fully at the time when I initially conceptualized them back in 2017-2018. The point that I'm trying to make is these ideas have been brewing and building for a long time. Now, you may be asking, why did we just go through all of that? I told you about a game you probably didn't even know existed, made allusions to me potentially stealing from it, only to then clear my name mere moments later. Well, the idea I wanted to share is this. Multiple people can have similar ideas without one being derivative of the other. You can share this project, you can share that idea, that concept that you've come up with without being afraid of it being too similar to something that already exists, so long as you've put your own spin, your own flair, your own identity into it. I think that we as people oftentimes feel that once a space has been claimed, it's gone. It belongs to the people who got there first. But in truth, we as humans have so many niches and specific things that we like. Like, just think about you yourself, the different things that you enjoy partaking in. Do you enjoy them for the exact same reasons as other people? Are there little things that you might like that other people might not? Well, if I make something similar to what you've done, but with my own spin, maybe it fits the niche of someone else who didn't like everything about the other product, and so on and so forth. It's okay to compete, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think that we as creatives should be too afraid to put forward an idea just because people might accuse you of not being creative enough, right? It was a big fear that I had, actually, when I was getting ready to put Summoner's Nexus forward, because at the time that I was still working on it, I saw Cross Duel and I thought, oh no, I'm finished, right? It's too similar. They've come out with something that is very similar to what I've got my hands on. I was this close. Why did I do it with two hands? I was this close to changing some of the core systems in Nexus just so that it would be as different as possible from what I saw in Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel. But then I thought, you know what? They can do it like them. No one can do it like me. I'm going to do my own thing in my own way. And I'm proud of how it's turned out so far. And hopefully we are able to keep on building from where we're at. Again, I really enjoyed Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel. Even though it shares some similarities with Nexus, I don't think that they'll share the same fate. I think Cross Duel could have succeeded if some changes were made, and I hope to learn from that and do the best that I can for the Summoner's Nexus TCG. So I guess the second point of this devlog is that it's not always about what you do, sometimes it's about how you do it, because again, if these two projects are somewhat similar, I wholeheartedly believe that Nexus is going to succeed where Cross Duel wasn't able to. So again, it's about how you approach things more so than the base foundation of what you are approaching or the niche that you're trying to fill. I don't know how good of a devlog this is. I kind of just wanted to talk about it because I remember it being something that I was extremely nervous about during development. I was so scared that I was going to be accused of lifting or stealing or this or that. And then at a point, I just sort of realized, well, I mean, one, I've got a track record of when the game started being developed, but more importantly, even if I didn't, I don't think it would matter. I'm still going to make something near and dear to my heart and do the best that I can to make it a unique experience for everyone who partakes in it. I hope you do partake in it. In order to find out how you can do that, subscribe to, keep up to date with the development, see how things go. And like the video because it helps more people to see it, and that means more people will play the game, and that means you have more people to play against. It's a win-win. With that being said, have a wonderful day and take care.